A typical day for a prisoner in Winchester will be they'll get up at 7:45. They'll be expected to have their breakfast in half an hour and go to work at 8:15. They will work until 11:30, get back from work at 11:45, have their lunch meal, be locked up at 12:30, be unlocked at 1:30, go to work for 1:45, come back from work at 4:45. They'll then have an hour and three quarters where they can have their lunch, have a shower, have some exercise, get on the phone, and then they're locked up at 6:30. That is going to be a typical day throughout every prison, every local prison in the country. Really what this is aimed to do is to say that Monday to Friday is work, focused on work, and the weekend is your own time.
What sort of work will they be involved in?
So there's a number of things, and this is down to the length of time they're serving, what their issues are. So we have a number of people coming into custody at Winchester who have drug and alcohol issues. About 80% of the people that come in. So before they do any sort of work, we've got to deal with their drug and alcohol addictions and issues. So they'll either be detoxed, they'll be maintained, or we will deal with their issues. Once they've been dealt with, there's a number of work areas that we've got, whether that's industries. So we've got a couple of contracts with different suppliers. We have jobs within the prison, so cleaning jobs. We've got advocacy jobs, so we've got prisoners who advocate on behalf of other prisoners, who provide a Samaritan service to other prisoners who are in crisis. We have a variety of jobs, but the most sort of work, if you want to call it work, that we have is education. So we have a high number of prisoners who come in to us who are uneducated or educated to a very low standard. So it's our role to bring them up to a certain standard, and that's what we focus on. And that probably ties in nicely to the new IEP scheme, because we're focusing really quite closely now on the fact that if you've been identified as having a need and you don't then decide to go and fulfil that need, then we will be very strict on how we treat you. So you may have got away with not doing education previously or not going to work. Under our new regime, you'll be punished if you don't. Prisons do get bad press, I would agree with that, and I think they get bad press because they're tough environments to work in, but B, I think there is always a tension between whether prisons should be places of rehabilitation or whether they should be places of punishment. Now, from my perspective, I'm very clear that it's about rehabilitation. The punishment is handed out by the courts, and my role and my staff's role is to rehabilitate. That doesn't go down well with members of the public generally, I have to say. As an example, a high number of our prisoners are uneducated or are educated to a low level. Factually, 75% probably haven't finished school. They haven't finished school because they got into crime at a young age, they had families who didn't finish school. Alternatively, they just didn't have the academic ability to do that. So what we try and do is change the setting, change the focus, don't make it a place of embarrassment and sort of boredom. We try and spice it up a little bit, try and encourage them to come along. We incentivise it by paying them to go as well. So they get paid the same amount to go to an education class as they would to work. So 96% of the prison population will be released. They could be your neighbour, my neighbour, who knows. Is it right for us to just incarcerate them and not try and give them the same opportunities as other people? Well, that's a moral debate. My personal view as a prison governor is I've got every responsibility to make sure they have got an opportunity. The fact of the matter is that if someone comes back into custody, they've cost all of us as taxpayers a huge amount of money. If I give them access to education or training or other skills and they don't come back into custody, I would say that's money well spent. And I would say in the current climate where we're going through a period of austerity, we're probably better off spending more money that way, trying to rehabilitate, than actually throwing more money at criminal justice in other areas. You know, I think any successful leader can't afford not to listen to the people within it, whether they be prisoners or staff. I've taken the views of all the prisoners and the staff, and the general perception is that the new Corday will be good for both. It will be a challenge for our staff and it will be a challenge for our prisoners for a variety of reasons, because it's new nonetheless, but I think it will be more decent for prisoners. I think it will be a challenge for staff, but nonetheless it will get staff to talk and see prisoners more, which by default will develop the relationship. So no, I'm really happy with where we're going. I'm happy that we're managing that process safely at the minute. I talk to my unions on a regular basis and they're not coming to me with huge amounts of concerns about this, but it will be different for each prison.